Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see and hear us okay. Hopefully you are not dying from the new wave of heat that's hit us. I'm joined this afternoon, by the lovely Anna Logan Riversby. I have to say it like
Hey.
that, otherwise I mess it up. Anna's joined us in her swimwear. No, I'm only joking.
Yes, it's my bikini, all right.
Yeah, I know. I said you look like you're in your bikini, and you
Yes,
stood up and
I'm
almost,
actually in the top. You can see
yeah,
it's the actual top it looks like.
you stood up and you almost did like a Baywatch run when you were doing it. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Right. Jamie's already got in there with the first comment on YouTube. So afternoon. Rosie's joined us. Good afternoon, Rosie. Hi. I was chatting away and I forgot to jump into the comments. So you know me, I just get too excited. I just get too excited straight
Me
away.
too.
I know, and just like end up talking. So Bobby's joined us as well. Afternoon, Bobby. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, David. Hi, anyone that's joined us. Please, can someone let us know that they can see and hear us okay? I assume someone would have done by now for sure. If you're just joining us on Facebook, if you wouldn't mind giving us a comment, a like, a love, or something like that, just so we can let everyone know that we've gone live. Sometimes the notifications go out, sometimes it doesn't. Sarah's joined us. Jamie says all good. Thank you very much for that. Andy's joined us as well. So lots of people jumping on board to see Anna and hopefully talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is how you can grow your business by adding virtual assistants. Because this is the time of year, really, Anna, that I think people start thinking about this kind of stuff now, where Q4's coming. If they want to maybe try and add something into their business, maybe now this is the sort of time, because when you're in the depths of Q4, I'm not saying can't do it, of course, but whilst we're all in this kind of heat wave that we're in, not really thinking too much about Q4, now's a good time to start thinking about it, because come November, you don't want to be training a VA and recruiting a VA, really. It's not the
really.
optimal time to do it.
I agree with you, totally. I agree with everything you just said. From my experience, personal, and from my clients' experience, I have found that the way we do things, especially, is or the way I recommend it for anybody who wants to have a VA, it's to think about it as adding a new member of your family, really. You need to get to know them. They need to get to know you. And if you introducing them right now, they will have like a couple of months sort of playtime to get to know your KPIs, to understand how you think about sourcing, so they can sort of comfortably incorporate themselves into what you need and want and what your plans are by growing your business before the Q4 hits. As you said before, when the Q4 hits, you're sort of, okay, it's Q4, I have to do this and that. And you have to have somebody who understands completely what you mean when you say source this category today, and they're like, yeah, I get that,
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something, it's a consideration. We talk about this and we try and prepare everyone as much as possible, because the trouble is Q4, we've talked about it before. It's you think, okay, it's going to start from the 30th of September going into the 1st of October. It doesn't work like that. It kind of just jumps up at you, and one minute you can be quiet and the next minute it can be crazy. So it's good to have these things put in place beforehand. But before we dive deep into some of the things I want to talk about, just say a couple more highs and hellos. Marion's joined us, so has Simon. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how you can grow your business with the use of virtual assistants or team members. I actually think virtual assistants, that kind of word's becoming a little bit defunct now. I think, I certainly refer to anyone that's joining our team as team members, or, team, that's what I call them, team members. I think, kind of virtual assistant is a little bit, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I just feel it's a little bit defunct, that term now.
Yeah, I think the same thing. We usually say it's a team member. Okay, it is a virtual assistant because it's a virtual assistance. But when you're building the business, that's sort of a backbone of in most of what you're doing during the day. It's extremely important to actually have somebody that you feel belongs naturally with your business and with your personality. So I think virtual assistant is sort of taken on like, oh, it's a remote control, you press it and it works. There is no connection.
Yeah.
While team member, you understand this is a person, a live person with their own mind. And it's just different. It's much more personal experience. So I agree with you there.
And I think absolutely, and again, we'll talk about this in a bit more detail, but I like to highlight things when they come up, that there will be people watching this now. There will be people watching this in the future as a replay on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. And, they may have had success with virtual assistant team members. They may have had failures, but some of the things that we talk about, especially something like that, in how you communicate to your team member, how you treat them. And we're not talking about treating them, good versus treating them bad, but I mean in the communication, in the way that you give reassurance, that type of thing. Sometimes that can be the difference between a successful team member and a team member that doesn't work out. It may not necessarily be the fact that they can deliver deals. It might be that there's communication issues, or they don't feel valued enough, or there's all these different things that you need to consider before you decide whether or not you've got the time to take on a new member of your team.
Yeah, that's true. I had many occasions where myself as well in my previous businesses was considering to get help. And I thought, I'll just go over there and get somebody. It's never just go there, get somebody. It takes awful lot of time to realize if somebody actually understands what you need. They all say, yes, I'm a professional. And then when you get down to it, they don't understand anything, or they deliver a completely different service. So it's very much down to the communication and understandings. The culture is also very important. I have found that I understand Western culture really well. So in the terms of virtual assistants, I do tend to keep to the culture that I understand, which is European culture, whether West European or East European, that's very similar, if not the same, rather than going to somewhere abroad. I had both people from everywhere abroad. And I have to say that the culture is different and it takes time to understand it. And it takes to understand to start speaking English the way they speak English.
Yeah.
I remember even when you go to Dubai abroad, you have to start speaking English the way Dubai locals speak English, which is never, normal English language. Otherwise, they just don't understand you. They have problem understanding you. And that's actually one of the first things to think about when you're hiring a new team member. Whether or not you'll be able to understand what is it that they need, how do they live, what is their circumstances. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will go through all of that. I know we've had a few more people join us. Hi, Marion. Hi, Noreen. Hi, afternoon, Mark. Lots of people joining us on Facebook today, which is amazing. Hi, everyone. I'll keep an eye on the comments on YouTube as well. So if you've got any questions, by the way, go through them, drop them in the comments. And if we miss them for any reason, just drop them again, just to remind us. Because I know that this is a subject that people are always quite passionate about. And the reason why I asked Anna on, because we do keep an eye of what's posted in the groups and what is posted in other groups. And kind of VAs seem a little bit of a hot topic at the moment. People considering taking them on. Is it right for them? Isn't it right for them? But before we dive deep, I mean, I know lots of people will know who Anna is. Anna's been in the Amazon communities for a number of years now. We've absolutely, I've met Anna in person as well. So at the online arbitrage.
That was great.
It was a great day. Absolutely. Yeah. Hope to, catch up again some point in the future, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we will do at some point. Someone's just joined us on Ace Memmy Dude 89. Hi on YouTube. But for those of you who don't know who you are, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a very brief introduction about who you are, what you do. You've been selling on Amazon, that just so the guys know who you are.
Yes, of course. So my name is Anna, as you know, and I've started my Amazon journey, I think back in 2018. Found some free courses, upgraded to pay courses, started the Amazon journey within 2 weeks. And the model I decided to build on was online arbitrage, because that was sort of a logical step in me learning first how to build Amazon business. And after about 5 months, I decided to hire my first VA, quickly scaled to another VA, and then realized that if I have 2 sourcing VAs, I need a reviewing VA, and it was like prep center and everything else. So I think within a few years, I built up to a decent turnover, and then just decided that Amazon business model was not really right for me, as one does. And what really fits in with me is to provide service by supplying virtual assistants to e-commerce, which is Amazon sellers, mostly sourcing virtual assistants. And this is where I found myself. And I have found out how to do this, how best to provide a service that is really personal and suitable for myself, my heart and my soul and my whole being. I know it sounds a bit like woohoo, but this is actually who I am. I really love that. It makes me happy to do this. And this is what I do right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Anna. Really appreciate it. And, that's something that's really interesting because I talk about opportunity all the time. And, there's so many potential opportunities that can come from selling on Amazon. And sometimes you don't end up selling on Amazon. You end up going down, a different path or something like that, but you have the experience of selling on Amazon. But yours is a very personal story, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because for anyone that wants to find out a little bit more about Anna and her journey and how she ended up where she was, there is actually a previous Never Mind the Buy Box. And if I was a professional YouTuber, I would say something right now like, oh, the video's in the comments or something, but just search on the YouTube and you will be able to find it because we go quite deep into your story. And the reason why you ended up providing this service, because you got really burned by another service that nearly ended your business essentially, and gave you a lot of distrust within Amazon service providers. And this is how you came across and like I said, I'm not going to go into that in too much detail, because we covered it previously. And it's more today about how we can add virtual assistants into our business. But I just wanted to highlight that for anyone that didn't know your backstory or anything. And if they want to find out more, search the previous video with Anna, and it's one of my favorite Never Mind the Buy Box, actually. Lots of great information that's still relevant at the time. So if you want to find out a little bit more about it, please let us do. We've got a couple of questions that have jumped in. So before we get started on some, because I want to go through that process of, whether or not it's right for you at time in your business now. Someone's jumped on and said, hi, Ace Memmy Dude 89 on YouTube. Sorry, I can't call you anything else. If you want to let me know your name, please do. This is a good question. So do we go for VAs who have their tools or want to use ours?
So I believe that if you want to add team member to your business, I think it's the best to share your tools with the VA. In short.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be the, most software providers, thinking about BuyBot Pro, Profit Protector Pro, they will have an amount of license uses that will give you the opportunity to give your team member a license. I could say the wrong thing here, so I don't know if anyone from BuyBot Pro is watching, but BuyBot Pro in particular, I've got to be honest, I think it's either 4 or 5 licenses that they have, something like that. So should
5,
be more, 5. So I think it's going to be more than enough. So you give them a license on how to do it. So you definitely use, you wouldn't expect a virtual assistant to have their own software and tools. It would be something that you would provide.
Yes, because basically what they need, what a virtual assistant needs, is to be able to understand whether or not their client is gated in something. Therefore, you do need to provide your own license keys if you're using BuyBot Pro, and your settings, and your client, if you're the seller, you'll have a VA, you'll need to add them to Amazon Seller Central as well, so that they can see if you're gated with something, can you sell something, can you not sell something. So you're definitely adding the VA to your business rather than vice versa.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. He's actually just posted our previous Never Mind the Buy Box, so really appreciate that. There we go. Good service around here, definitely, for sure. Thank you, Stephen. Another good question, actually. Amanda's joined us as well. Good afternoon, Amanda. how is one able to get a better sense of how experienced a VA is? So this is quite a good question. And I know that there's probably not a right or wrong answer to this because it would depend on personal circumstances. But I'll let you answer first of all, just to see what your thoughts are.
So from my experiences, the best is you can ask them and you can talk to them as much as you like, but you need to put them to the test. An experienced person who has had VAs before, and I know that for a fact, talking to my clients, they know within a few days if the person is experienced or not. And also you can have a test on the live chat with them, say, okay, I'm going to open a random ASIN, analyze it for me. Let me see how you think. Keep a chart. Do you understand it? What software do you use? Open it up. Talk to me about. So analyze at least 2 to 3 ASINs with them on the chat and see how they think. And if you like it, give them a couple of weeks trial. And if they perform really well, and if you get along, if you understand each other, this is how you sort of go step by step from like completely new person to somebody you can trust.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Something that giving them a live test, seeing how they respond. Of course, you've always got to allow for the fact that they might be nervous or something like that, but it should give you an indication. It's very hard. And I don't know if you agree with this, Anna, or anyone else is watching. When you are recruiting someone virtually, it's so different to recruiting someone in person. You can't see a lot of their body language. You can't see a lot of the way that they are, how they respond to things. So, it is a much more difficult task. And I think all you can do is, one, do your best, because if someone's going to pull the wool over your eyes, if someone is that deceptive, I think they're always going to be able to do it, to be perfectly honest, and you can't kick yourself for that. But at the same time, I think it's all about being upfront and communication with people and saying to people, because of the way that we are recruiting, it is a virtual role. We're not meeting in person. We do have this trial period. You make it absolutely clear that if for any reason they don't pass the trial period, you're going to let them know as quickly as possible. So it won't come as any type of shock or surprise or anything like that whatsoever. But it's really one of those things that I always get it round the wrong way. But I can't remember where I heard this phrase from, but when it comes to hiring a team member, especially virtually, that you should hire slow and fire fast if they don't work out. And I do believe that's right, because you don't want to be wasting anyone's time, and including their time. Their time is equally important to yours. And I think as long as you make that clear at the outset, I think that's really important. So this is good. We've got lots of questions coming in. Wow. Okay. So lots. We're going to be interactive today. Definitely.
Excellent.
Good. Wow. Loads of questions firing in. Well, okay. Well, things to consider before hiring a VA. So we will have a look at that, but let's answer some of these questions, because I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of questions there, and I don't want the questions to get too far behind. So Denise says, I know this is probably like how long is a piece of string, but from your experience, Anna, with your clients, when are they ready to get their first VA, and when shouldn't they get one? And that's really funny, Denise, because that is my first question to ask. So when is the right time? When do you think there's a right time? Is there a right time for somebody to take on a VA?
So there's sort of multifaceted answer to that. One is when you're ready. When your business is ready as well. So let's consider these two first. So when your business is ready is when you have enough money to pay for them. So you need to take that into account, because once you start paying the VA, your finances are going to drop. And by the time they're ready to really contribute to your business, realistically speaking, a new VA takes a few months to build up. So you can expect first month for your finances to drop. Count for that business-wise. Second month, they might equal out. So you may break even. Third month, you will start making profit. So you need to think of from the financial point of view, that one. And the second one is when you are ready, which means that if you really want a good quality team member added to your team, I would advise that you think about how much time you've got to work on developing a relationship with that VA to make sure that you understand them, teach them, make sure that they are confident when they're working with you. They did not sort of shy from asking questions, because that's crucial as well. So if you're confident with both viewpoints that you can do this, I think there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't go ahead and add a VA to your team.
Amazing answer. Thank you, Anna. And I think what's important to add as well is you don't necessarily have to take a full-time VA to start with, can you? You can take a part-time VA if you want. So that's a consideration, because I know some people can't, if you're not that type of person, if you want to kind of ease into it, there's a possibility that you can do that as well. But it's a really interesting point that you bring up, and one that is often overlooked is when you go through periods of growth within your business and where you might need to outsource certain services. And probably the 3 outsourced services that will be a consideration for most people to start with is prep, sourcing, and administration. Those are probably the 3 that most people would consider. I don't count bookkeeping or accountancy under that, because most people are not qualified accountants. So that's something that you should be probably outsourcing anyway as well. So one of those considerations would be one of those 3. And 2 can be performed by virtual assistants. And probably the 3rd will be a prep center, or maybe you might be working with someone at the warehouse. Apologies, by the way, if anyone can hear screaming. I've got about 1 million kids in my house right now. It's summer holiday, so if you can hear screaming,
lovely.
Honestly, they only scream when I'm on live. Like that.
It's always like that, isn't it?
I know, it's always the way, always screaming. God knows what people think my children get up to, but it's so hot. I can't not have the windows open, I'm afraid. Apologies. So if you hear that, no one's being tortured, I promise. They're having
it's just
good old
summer vibe.
they're just having good old fashioned fun outside. I promise. So those are the 3 considerations. So I know we're not here to talk about prep outsourcing today, but probably I would say when it comes down to it, it's going to be prep versus sourcing, probably that most people are going to consider first of all, and that's going to come down to a personal choice, which I'm not going to cover today. We'll cover that at another point. But what people don't consider is when you go through these periods of outsourcing, when you are paying somebody else or a service to try and grow your business, people automatically think that, if they hire someone, it's instant profits, it's instant this. Well, actually, in reality, you could be looking at a sustained period of time. As Anna quite rightly said, a minimum of 3 months, possibly 6 months, depending on when you do it. If you're closer to Q4, it might be shorter. That you will be looking at a period of probably stagnation within your business, if not a little bit of reduction. You almost, with something like this, have to take 2 steps back before you can take a step forward, essentially. And I don't think that gets spoken about enough. And people who automatically think someone's going to come in and they're going to change their business overnight, when in reality it's not going to happen. So Anna's absolutely right. You need to be absolutely steadfast in your commitment to doing something like this, that it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take time. But ultimately, you should know relatively quickly whether or not you feel this person can work out or join within your team. And also, when you make these decisions, there's a couple of things when outsourcing you want to consider, especially prep versus sourcing versus admin. Some of them will make you money, but some of them will save you time. So it could be a time versus money thing. That these are things that you guys all need to consider, because we're all like, oh, I hate sourcing, I want to get that done first of all. Well, actually, in your business right now, the more sensible thing could be to give you more time to do sourcing and concentrate on that and get your prep outsourced. So there's lots of considerations to take into account. Now, I know we've had some salary questions and things come up like that, but I know we're both on the same page here, and we're talking about things you consider before you hire. When it comes to salaries and things like that, my personal recommendation is don't try and do it on the cheap. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. It's as simple as that. Pay a fair wage for, you know, a fair, I mean, yes, this isn't working down the mines, obviously, but it is, you know, it's not hard labor or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you want your team member to feel valued and respected. And, you know, paying a fair wage is a reflection of that.
Definitely. I found that if you try, as you say, pay cheap, then you just need to be very careful of that, because every person needs a certain wage to be able to pay their bills at home. So knowing the average wage of whatever country your VA is coming from and what's enough for sustainable living is crucial, because if you do not pay them enough, they would tend to break your trust at some point. And that's where often the question that I'm asked, how do you trust a VA? So make sure you treat them fairly, make sure that they have enough money, that they're interested in your business, and you get a good vibe from them as well, and build a quality relationship.
That's such an interesting point, Anna, about breaking the trust. And it's really interesting because it's not necessarily the team member's fault, because if you've not asked the right questions at the start, like you said, finding out fair salary, finding out there is nothing wrong with asking a team member, you know, in terms of your questioning during the recruitment process, if I pay you this, is this enough for you to work full time for me and not take on any other clients and not do this? Those are the type of questions that you need to ask, because I think sometimes if a VA were to break your trust, you would automatically think, oh, they're you know, a horrible person, they've, you know, broken my trust. But sometimes it's because they have to do it. It's as simple as that. And that's the consideration. So, you know, when you do take somebody on, questions, which we'll come on and talk specifically a little bit more about in a moment, but questions are so important during the interview stage. It's not just about, can you read a keeper chart, or can you do this? As Anna quite rightly points out, lots of considerations to take into account, for sure.
You have to be really outstanding as a business owner, you know, to be able to see all of these things, have a long vision, and be able to lead your team, right? Ask the right questions. It's like a super person you become, right? It's just amazing. And the skills that you develop, it's just, they're extraordinary too.
Absolutely. So, I completely agree. Sarah's asked, how many weeks assistance should you give your VA at the beginning? Great question, Sarah.
How many weeks assistance? So what I have found out is that regular feedback, at least once a week, is good once the VA is settled in. In the beginning, you can do check-in, brief check-in at the beginning of the day, just to say, okay, I would like you to maybe source these 3 websites, because you hopefully have lots of experience by now. Say, okay, this is the season. These are the websites which I have previous good experience with. Can you please source 3 to 5 websites each day? And then next day, same thing, quick check-in, maybe 5-10 minutes just to check in with your VA. That would be good. Some people do that. Some people check in at the end of the day to see how everything was done. Were there any problems? It can be, you know, every day, short check-ins, or a couple of times a week as well. But what I found it to be what's happening after VA has settled in, after a month or so or 2, that clients tend to not provide great number of feedbacks afterwards. So VAs get a little bit confused whether or not they're doing really well. So you, as a business owner, I think it's really good if you continue providing a great feedback on most of the deals. If you can help it, really, that really helps. build the VA's confidence and just continues building the whole team and trust between you two.
So once they're experienced, do you think just continue with the praise, continue with the good feedback? So they can, that's great advice.
And analyze the deals, still continue to say, okay, this deal is great, I bought it because of that, and this deal is not that great, and I didn't buy it because of this. So they actually know.
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly what they're doing.
Clear and concise feedback in those first few weeks is going to be really vital. And this is my own personal question, just leading on from this. So say, for instance, you have somebody, how many times would you give a team member advice? I'm talking about at the start versus, later on. But at the start, how many times would you expect to have to tell a new team member something, and how many opportunities would you give them to correct it? Like, if they continue doing it 3 times, is that too much enough for you to say, right, this isn't working out? Where's that line? Is there a line?
That's an interesting question, because we had recently an opportunity to address that exactly. So we had a client who said, okay, this VA is making really silly mistakes, and the communication, we don't quite understand each other. All the deals applied, yes, we bought some, and can we have another one? And then a month later, you know what? All the deals from that VA have sold really well. So if that VA is available, can we please have her back?
Oh, wow.
So it is a learning curve from both sides. I think the only way to know is actually to see how deals are doing long term, to see if you can actually learn something from this person. Maybe they think completely differently. As we know that lots of sellers think actually differently about the same product, right?
100%.
There's so many varieties, so I believe it's, if you do not really like the person, if you can't trust them, let them go. But give them a chance to at least see how the products that they have found and you have purchased have done. Maybe you will learn something as well. So it is a bit of your choice to see, how much patience you have and how much time you have on your hands as well to learn, and vice versa. It's not really like, oh, give them 3 times and then that's it.
I love that. I love that. You're so right. What a perspective. What a different way to look at it. Because like I said, normally we probably go along with the rules of once bitten, twice shy, or, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. People think differently. People have different perspectives. So again, it's bringing it back to that communication. And instead of maybe saying just no, maybe ask them the question, why did you feel that was a good deal? Because that could be absolutely something that could lead you to, as you've quite rightly pointed out, something you haven't thought of yourself. I think that's great. I think that's a great answer. Thank you. Sarah, again, how long should a trial period last? Is it 1 month? Again, this is a tough one, because we were talking about hiring slow and firing fast, but it's going to depend on the situation, presumably.
It's true, yes. So I've had people that told me that I had VA who was not really good and did not perform well, and they still had that VA for over a year, and they just wouldn't let the VA go. They felt bad about firing somebody who then would struggle to find work, so they felt responsible. So we have a lot of situations like that, where people feel really uncomfortable about letting VA go, who is not performing. But I'd say that more experienced people who had VAs before, they know within a few days if the VA is good or not. They just get this, that reminds me of that situation. Maybe this one's not that great. I would give them minimum 2 weeks, just from the perspective of you understanding, do you actually feel comfortable with that person? Do they respond really well to your instructions? If they keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again, which is really crucial, and you don't have patience for that, then it's up to you really to say, okay, I don't have patience for this. I want to let this person go. You need somebody who's not going to stress you out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great answer. And it's so interesting, because the longer, and that's a really important point, Anna, the longer you have someone, the harder it is to let them go. It's as simple as that. I've talked about this previously. I think we might have even talked about this on our last video, is, I've had the pleasure of employing hundreds of people over the years through my own business, working in insurance and things like that. Sorry, not insurance, in recruitment. And no matter how many people, you know, and I unfortunately have had to let people go. And no matter how many times or how much experience you have, it's not easy. It's never easy. Anyone that says that they find it easy to fire people, oh my God, you don't have a heart. You don't have a soul. To fire people. It's like sleepless night stuff for me. You know, if I have to, if someone's financially responsible, if I'm financially responsible for someone, I'm going to have sleepless nights about that. And guys, I'm not trying to put anyone off. I'm just saying these are considerations you do have to think about. The longer you have someone, the harder it is. So listen to your gut at the start. I think we do know whether something's right. It feels right, even if it's an inkling. I'm not saying, oh, if you've got a tiny little feeling, fire them, because that is something that could be fixed. But learn to listen to your gut and, you know, follow that a little bit more than anything else, because getting rid of someone, I suppose, after 3 days is probably going to be easier than it is even versus 3 weeks. But I think you know within 2 weeks. I think you would.
Yes.
I think you'd know whether they're right for you within that period of time. So hopefully that's answered the question, Sarah. But 2 to 4 weeks, I would say.
Yes.
Jamie says, do you pay a normal, this is a great question, do you pay normal level salary during the trial period?
Yes, of course, I do. So I want people to perform at their best. I do advise you just sign them up and say, okay, you're working, you're starting now, you're on a trial, but you're going to receive full wage. So they know that they're like injected into your team immediately, so they can sort of feel like, okay, I'm ready to perform and be at my best, and let's see how it works out. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Back when we first started selling on Amazon, there were absolutely a rogue amount of advice going around that used to say, oh, if the trial hasn't worked out, don't pay them, don't do this, don't do it. I mean, just really disrespectful kind of stuff.
It is. Because imagine yourself, you know, being in that situation. You're an experienced person and somebody tells you like, oh yeah, let's work for free for me for 2 weeks. And you'll be like, is there anybody else who's actually going to treat me fairly?
Yeah.
So you're not going to feel that inspired no matter how much you want that, I believe.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I would never not consider paying someone. And ultimately, it might be a good point to actually mention what you pay someone if they leave during the trial period. Now, I'm a personal believer in, if you know on the Tuesday, don't wait until the Friday to tell them. You were going to factor in a payment for them to work that week anyway. So how I would always do it is I would tell them immediately, it's not going to work out. However, I am going to pay you for the week because that's what we agreed. That's personal choice. Obviously, some people will only pay for what they work, but as a minimum, be respectful and, you know, pay them for what they've worked, you know, even if it's not to what you wanted or your level of expectation, they've still done the hours. That's the way that I see it.
Yeah.
Sarah has asked, this one is definitely, you know, going to have some varying answers. How many products should a VA source a day? Now, presumably that's going to depend how long they're with you, you know, all of these different kind of variables.
Yeah. So what we have found, well, first of all, let me tell you a funny story. I was one of these really difficult clients. When I first got a VA, I thought they just plug in and they churn out 10 deals per day and I buy them all and it's hunky-dory, everything. Yeah. I was one of those silly people. Definitely. And then I got a VA and then I realized that they actually can deliver 10 deals, but I definitely will not buy them all. You know, I would buy maybe 1, 2, 3. And from my experience, our experience since running our agency, this is actually how it is. The new VA who is foundational trained, just compare that person with yourself when you first started sourcing. How many deals per day did you find? Really, like first 2 weeks, first 3, 4 weeks. So I would say that on average, a new VA, foundation trained VA, whether you trained it or hired it somewhere, will find maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 deals per day. I think on average 2 to 3 is good. And if you buy them, you can start sort of, building up on that. And that's the first month. And then second month, they start building up on that, have more experience, maybe 5 deals per day they can find, and then you buy most of those. And then you just build up from that. And I think it's also the quality of deals, whether or not you can put them into, replenishables really counts too. So again, it's not a straightforward answer, but you can expect something like that. Yeah. And also depends on the season, right?
Yeah, Q4 easily you're gonna have a higher level of those per day. And I think absolutely as well, that's a really interesting point. Just to follow on from that is one, how many people when they first take on a VA, and taking into account the fact that they're going to have to pay the VA as well, are in a financial position to buy 10 deals a day every single day. Most people probably aren't. I mean, probably if you're going kind of shallow and wide, absolutely you're buying 2 to 5 units. Yes, that could be realistic, but I know personally from my point of view, I would rather prefer to have 3 to 5 deals a day that are absolutely guaranteed quality, as opposed to just churning out kind of rubbish essentially. But that will come down to a personal relationship that you build and a level of trust, presumably, with yourself and your new team member.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Cool.
Cool.
Jamie says, nice to hear the kids enjoying themselves, which was actually apt because that was in response to when we said about it earlier, but then the screams started again. So hopefully you can hear that they are enjoying themselves for sure. Stephen said, in my opinion, I think a lot of people make the mistake that they do not need to know how to source, that the VA will save the day. And then they get upset when the VA can't source like a pro and need additional training. Also, basic team management skills are helpful. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that, Stephen. If you can't source, how do you expect? And this is why I would say take the time to learn manual sourcing. You may not enjoy it. There's a difference between being able to do it versus enjoying something.
Yes.
Sourcing is not for everybody. I personally, I'm one of the weirdos that happens to enjoy it.
Natalie loves sourcing.
Yeah. There we go. A couple of weirdos together. But it's a very repetitive task, and it's something I can just sit down. I can block everything out. I can sit there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I can do it. But it's a time issue for a lot of people as well. It takes a lot of time to manually source. So Stephen is absolutely right there in his comment. And it's a consideration you must take on before considering taking a new team member on, is if your personal sourcing is not up to scratch, your knowledge of sourcing is not up to scratch. One, how are you going to know the deals that they're providing are good? Simply, how are you going to know? And two, how can you work together with the team member to help improve their knowledge? Because if you go to someone like Anna, who will hire a VA for you, there's still, and this is, I think, something that is not considered. When they come on board, they have a foundation knowledge of selling on Amazon, of sourcing on Amazon. But it is, you cannot teach somebody within a 2 or 3 week period to be an expert sourcer if you've been doing it for 3 years. So you have to think about your knowledge versus their knowledge. And then you have to take the time to fill the gaps in between that level of foundation and where your level of knowledge is. Now, it may well be people do take on sourcing VAs immediately within their business, but as long as you're aware that you're going to learn together in the process, I think that's absolutely fine. But Stephen's right. Don't expect someone to come in and save the day if you don't know how to do it yourself.
Yes. If you expect somebody to come and save the day, be prepared to pay for their skill as well.
Ooh, I like that. That is such a good point. Absolutely. It reminds me of a lot of memes I see on Facebook about, I think it's the Mona Lisa. There's a picture of the Mona Lisa, and then someone else has done like a scribble, and it says like, be prepared to pay for experience.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. So I will compare you, Natalie, with Mona Lisa in that case. So this is, Natalie, Mona Lisa. This is the work of art, and that's, somebody who's, how much you're going to pay for each, service and skill? A couple of million here and a couple of hundred there.
Thank you for making that comparison. I think the only thing that we have in common is the fact that I don't smile that much, but
you do.
when I'm smiling now, obviously. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. Right. So Ume's asked on YouTube, what do you think? Now, this is a great question, and I love this question. What do you think about hiring or employing family members?
I think that's brilliant. If you have a great relationship full with trust with people who understand that they will contribute to the business and feel the members of the business, I think it's fantastic. Personally, I am delighted to have my partner on board in the business, because the business is part of my life. Frankly, this is where I spend most of my time. And I always quote this what is it called? Erin Brockovich, when she said, this is time away from my kids. This is, my blood, sweat, and tears. And if this is not personal, I don't know what it is. So if you employ somebody who is your family, your blood, it can be brilliant, but you need to understand your relationship first. Maybe some people are not cut out for it. So give them a trial.
Yeah.
And again, don't be afraid to tell them this is not working out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really vital when it comes to employing people, family members. Something we've got quite a lot of experience in is just making it clear up front that your relationship is going to be different in the workplace than it is outside of home. It's like a church versus state kind of relationship, where this is a professional working environment. So therefore, especially if there's other team members around, that you expect to be treated as an employer-employee relationship, all of these different types of things, without sounding like an arsehole, obviously, you will be nice to you're just making it clear that the relationship is different. Now, what's it really interesting, and I know, again, you'll hear this from different things. We've made a number, dozens and hundreds of hires over the years, and we actually hire quite close. We will always, if there's an option to hire a friend, a family member, we will go for that first of all, purely because we're really important on trust. And I'm not saying it, by the way, these are physical, so I've digressed a little bit. I've gone off tangent, but if there's an opportunity for a friend to work with us or a family member, because we're big trust people. So for us, if you end up working for us, we invite you into our lives a lot. We'll invite you to barbecues at our house and, all of these type of things. And it's exactly what you said, with the old Erin Brockovich things, that the children in particular, if you're coming to a barbecue at my house, you're going to meet my children.
Yes.
And so there has to be a massive level of trust. It's on a really personal level. So for us, we actually quite like doing that, because we know that if they are in our circle of trust, essentially, that we don't have to worry about introducing people that might have, that issues might come up at a later stage, or people knowing where we live, that type of thing. I suppose is the way to do it. So I think it's great if you can do it, but as long as you make as Anna said, as long as you make the relationship really clear. And of course that transcends into the virtual world as well, if they're going to work virtually or something like that. Vince asked, my own question is on an admin VA. How is the task build that has been putting me off even with hub staff? Should I put that up there? Because I'm not sure I understand the question.
All right, so task build. So it depends if you want one little short task to be done for you, or is it a repetitive task that needs to be done? As far as I know, that depends where you get your VA from, but letting VA to do one thing only, and you have to let them into Amazon Seller Central and all of that privacy, and then letting them go. Maybe, I don't know how repetitive the task is, if you want to hire them full-time, part-time, or just for that one little thing, or is it a big thing? It really depends on how much time VA has to spend on it, number one. Number two, depends on the skill set that VA needs to have to do this.
I think Vince clarified, basically asking, should they be paying an admin VA the same as a sourcing VA?
All right, okay. Most of the clients, and myself included back then, I did not need that admin VA to be working for me full time because there's just not enough to cover. So I would probably hire them part time or share them with somebody. But again, the most important is to understand the circumstances and to distribute that, because it's never like, yes, this, pay that, because understand, if you do not pay them what they need, they will be finding other clients, and then comes the trust issue again. So you have to have this perspective. For instance, we never provide part-time roles because of the trust issues. We'll say you can do VA pooling, so the other client they're going to be working for, and then they have a full-time job focusing only on you two, all three. It doesn't matter really. But then we make sure that this person, first of all, is focused on that task and that task only, and it's a full-time work. And then there is no need for them to go somewhere else and do something else and distract themselves, and then the quality of work falls. So the focus is really important, and the trust.
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. Personally, with regards to pay, I would probably pay them the same hourly rate, because it's a time versus money situation. A sourcing VA is going to make you money. An administration VA is going to save you time for you to be productive. And actually, when they save you time, you can probably put more efforts into growing your business, so it could be worth more. So I would pay them the same, but what I would do personally is I would give the sourcing VA incentives. So if they hit certain targets, or if they hit a sourcing target or a budget or something like that. But basic pay, I don't see any reason why they would be paid any different, because
I agree.
it's similar sort of tasks. That's the way I see it. But I do agree also, the consideration is probably time. You probably wouldn't have a full-time administration VA, but you would have a full-time sourcing VA likely. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of considerations. I mean, what we've talked about there really isn't even, the full considerations. It's not an exhaustive list. There's always going to be extra things to add in. So you've decided that a VA is for you. The options are laying before you either recruit one yourself, or you use a service or something like that. So if you're going to go for the latter, if you're going to go for down the recruitment, and there's no right or wrong, it depends which way you would do it. What's the process of recruiting a VA yourself? What would if you were recruiting one yourself, what's that process? Let people know, what can they expect?
So I have found that recruiting VA, if I was needing one, and for my clients, is sort of very similar. First of all, I would choose VAs, having had VAs from all over the world, globally, somebody who's from a similar culture that I come from, because I can read them easily. I understand when they tell me where they live, what they do, I can picture their circumstances back home. And for me, that's important because it clears up many of the trust issues that I might have, because I understand what is it that they need, what kind of work they need, what kind of money they would need to cover their costs immediately, and what do they expect from me? How do I manage them the best? So understanding the culture is really really important for me. So I would hire somebody from Europe, because I'm European. I would very rarely go abroad, even though I have really great experience with working people from abroad now. Again, if it's somebody to stay within my team, it would be somebody from Europe, because it's just much easier to understand them and their needs. So I would go through finding them on locations where they might be. different like providers. Even Upwork has lots of people from Europe working
It's a
there.
great
You can go
resource,
there.
Upwork.
Freelancer has also lots of people from Europe if you decide to go that route. If you are from different background, you hire people from different backgrounds, that's number one. And number two, I would obviously post a job description. If it's for sourcing, I would say something like product research, online product research, and I would post, what kind of qualities person has to have and what kind of job, in general, how does it look like? So you need to work that many hours. You need to be good with, I don't know, Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets, or you have to enjoy researching online. You are detail oriented. English written and spoken is excellent, and something like that describes sourcing itself. You don't need to go into details about that it's actually sourcing for Amazon. You just job description, and then wait for people to apply.
I was going to ask Anna, sorry to interrupt, but at
sure.
that initial stage, I know, because again, this is going to be personal choice and I wanted to get your professional opinion on it. Do you add the salary at that stage? Or not? Because I know some people do, some people don't.
I would clarify, because that singles out people who do not want to be earning that money. They want more. And they would just not be good fit. This time wasting. Yeah, really, just state the salary and get on with the people who are interested in working for that salary.
Okay, perfect. So when you write a job description, it's important to think about this, guys, because I think you've got to look at it in the same way that I'll look at something when I'm writing a design brief for a new product. If you have not taken the time to write a detailed job description, you're not going to get good matches for what you want. So don't scrimp on that. It's a valued task that you can do within your business, that once you get that job description written right and written well, that you can reuse it. So it's not time wasted, and it's going to save you time with the amount of people. And what I would always say, make sure your job title is definitely reflective of the role. Anna's absolutely right. Product research, something like that, whatever the role is, something that describes the role in a realistic way. Don't make the job sound more glamorous than it is. When we used to hire people for the prep center, I didn't write it in the job description, but my first conversation is that I'm going to be completely honest, this is not an exciting job. I think as long as you manage people's expectations in a way without putting them off. So job title, job description, which job description and job duties are very different. You want to make that clear. Previous experience, if necessary, what resources they would need, because that's an important thing as well, especially when you are hiring abroad. If somebody hasn't got internet or a good level of internet, then they're not going to be able to do the role. And I think also making it clear what the expectations are: salary, hours, what times you would expect them to work as well, because I know that often comes up, that times clashes depending on where you're hiring in the world. And communication, those type of things. But take the time, guys, to write a good job description. There's loads of job templates online, and you will be able to get a good guide of how you can write a good job description. But make sure you do it. It's going to be worth the time, in the reflection of the quality of candidates that you're going to have to whittle down. Because again, let's manage people's expectations, Anna, here. When you post a job like this, you get hundreds of applicants generally, don't you?
Yeah, I got about 500-600 people applying, and from these 500-600, we downstream to about 10 ready VAs. And we go through point by point checking, training, evaluating, getting to know people in their personal circumstances to make sure that they're right for the job. And final point is, do they find sourcing, for instance, repetitive and boring? And if they say, no, this is actually really interesting, these are the right people for us.
Actually. Absolutely. Be clear.
If if anybody wants like step-by-step description, I'm just finishing up I mentioned it to Natalie previously, an ebook PDF. If you want that, just let me know in the comments below, or just connect with me on Facebook, and I'll just sort of forward it to you once it's ready, so you can find more about that.
Absolutely. Anna's got a Facebook group. She's got a website and everything, which we'll go through. It is sourcingva.com, isn't it?
It's a website.
Yes. So we'll mention it now, but we'll put all the links in if anyone does want to connect with Anna, have a chat with her. You're really generous with your time, Anna. So, you're not, it's not like, this isn't a service that's a machine, as in, tick here, do that, or whatever. Anna believes in personalized services and working with you to find the right person for your team. So if that ticks your boxes, then make sure you get in touch with Anna for sure. Someone's already put the website there. Appreciate that. Thank you. Denise has asked, Howard said I've signed up for a part-time part-time sourcing. That's a great idea. Actually, half and half. So one that's going to do both jobs, because absolutely, that's great. Perfect. Facebook group's gone there as well. We'll mention
those Tina,
before we finish. Thank you, Tina. Denise has asked, so why not say source for Amazon with a team? Why avoid the exact job title?
Because some people do not understand what sourcing for Amazon is. They don't understand it. And if you want to get somebody who knows the job, then say, okay, sourcing for Amazon. I want somebody with experience. Be ready to vet them thoroughly as well. Then you need to know why they're not working anymore, if they worked before, previous clients, their previous experiences. But if you want a brand new person, which is absolutely fine, you just describe the job really well. And I think online product research is what comes the closest, really.
Yeah,
to sourcing, so you can use both, depends on your preference.
Yeah, you can absolutely clarify it a little bit later on. So you can put it within the first line of the job description, what they will exactly be doing. And that's when you can go into more specifics. But probably, I think Anna's right there, in the sense that it's a more universal term, as opposed to, there might be some people that, just don't know what sourcing is, that type of thing. So we forget, I think we all forget this, is that we all fall into the Amazon jargon. And if you're not in the Amazon world, in the Amazon community, then that's hard to remember. So that's a great point. Thank you for clarifying that.
There's a lot of things that you have learned and you have forgotten probably now, because you've been in the space for so long. And if you say to your family, like, oh, give me that ASIN over there, they'll be like, what?
Yeah.
What is an ASIN?
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely had those conversations, and people will be like, what were you looking at? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Simon said it's well worth chatting to Anna, so we do appreciate that.
Simon.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I think it's something to be recommended, especially if you're going to go through this process. It's something recommendations are always the best way to go if it's possible. So you've gone through the recruitment process, you've posted a job, you've whittled down all of your candidates. Next, it's going to be the interview stage. So talk us through what somebody would do there. Obviously, you can't interview someone in person, but you need to use this opportunity to get the best impression about that person as possible. So what's the next step from there once you agree to an interview?
Yes. So first of all, I would just discount everybody. I think I'm similar to you, who just hasn't read the job description and just sent something random like, oh, this is my qualifications. And I just said, okay, can you answer these 3 questions first? They don't do that. Do you speak English? Do you have internet? Do you, enjoy working from home, and they're detail oriented? And then it's very difficult, because if you have 500 people and then you have to decide, obviously professionally, what we do, we have a group chat for everybody explaining in detail what the job is, do the brief like presentation. This is what you do every day. You get full training for that. This is how your work day would look like. You sit here, you decide on this strategy, you pick your categories, and you just sort of go through how the job is going to look like, how your interactions with them are going to look like, the career prospects, what can go from one to another, maybe promotions, how that looks like. So they get the full view of the actual job. And then you make sure that you explain you want somebody long-term. So they don't say, okay, I can work for you like 4 months and then I have to go traveling around the world. That will not really work. So I think good introduction to the job itself. This is what we do on a group call, and maybe from 500-600 people, we get maybe 100 interested, and then we go on for so we'll see who to train. But I think if you are just a person, you will get probably maybe 30-40 applicants, and it's difficult to you can do logical choosing, you can do a bit of a gut feeling too. See who chats with you the best. So somebody who's really interested is going to be there like, oh, hi, I'm here. I'm here for the chat. I'm here for everything that you might ask. They respond really fast. And you get this good, sort of turnover of communication with them and say, okay, let's have an interview with you. And because I had feeling like people who just, well, yes, I'm interested, and they don't get back to you for days. That's not really the right person for me. And then they say, oh, I've been unwell, or I've been in the hospital. Fair enough. But I have found very often, a couple of weeks later, they're going to be in hospital again, or unwell, or something else. It is a problem after problem. So choose the person who's really keen to be there. He shows up for the interview, shows up for the training. You just see that things flow really well. So you choose that person to interview and give them a go.
That's really interesting, Anna. What an amazing tip. I have never heard anyone say that before about offering out a group call to start with, to kind of whittle down, to get a little bit of a feel about who's keen, who isn't keen, because I do believe you could develop a gut feeling on someone on there.
Oh, yes.
How keen they are. Amazing tip. I've never heard anyone say that. So thank you. That is a golden nugget for sure. So if you've got the time, I say if you've got the time, make time. It only needs to be 20 minutes, something like that.
It's no more than that.
A Zoom link. Zoom is free up to 40 minutes. So it's something that you can do without a doubt. That's an amazing tip. And I think that will save a lot of people time. Absolutely. Red flags. I think that's an important thing that you highlighted there. In my opinion, this is my opinion on this, because of this type of role, establishing trust, all of the things that we've talked about already is so important. If they give you any reason to doubt them, I think, unfortunately, it sounds a bit skeptical, but I think it is going to be a case of, cutting them off before they give you an opportunity to waste your time, because there is so much interest in these type of roles, because you will have so many people respond to you. Unfortunately, you can't afford to waste your time on time wasters. So maybe I'm a bit harder than Anna, I don't know, but I don't, even at that stage, if you've gone through the process, you've interviewed them, you've hired them, you've done everything from that point of view, absolutely. If you've invested time in them, you're more likely to give them a little bit more leeway. But if at the first thing they've not turned up for an interview, or they're late for an interview, or all of these different types of things, if they tell you they're working for someone else, ask the questions, be honest, in the interview process. If it's not right, cut it off, and don't wait for the full interview as well. If you find out in the first 5 minutes of the interview, if you get red flags, end the interview. Don't waste your time in doing a full 20-minute or half an hour interview. I actually like to do it in stages. So if they pass stage 1, then I'll go to stage 2. If they pass stage 2, then they go to stage 3 or whatever. Whereas if they don't pass stage 1, I thank them for the time, let them know, I don't know. Do you let people know on an interview if they're not successful, or you let them know at a later stage?
Sometimes I need time to think about things.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe don't make.
Sometimes I just know, I'm sorry, but you're not the right person because of this that you just said that you do or you don't do, or you can't deliver. So I think each person should know what their criteria are. upfront. And some people just learn on the job of hiring, right?
Yeah.
So if you've never hired, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve as well.
Absolutely. And that's really important as well, with regards to letting people know. And, as we're coming to the end of our session here today, it's important, I think, to let people know whether they're successful or not. If you have taken the time, obviously, if you've got 500 people that have jumped on a group call, you don't need to let every single one of those know that you're not successful. You will say on the call, I will be in contact with those who are successful. But when you've taken the time to speak to them one-to-one, I think from a respect point of view, they need to be told that they've not been successful and why they've not been successful, because that will give them, some help and feedback moving forward. Because it may well be they've not been successful just because someone else had that little bit more experience. So if you've let them know that, then maybe they can go out and find a little bit more experience or whatever. It's, as long as the feedback is constructive, that's fine. But at the same time, if it's because they were late to the interview, tell them. I'm a big fan of that. If you've not been successful, unfortunately, it's because you were late to the interview, and unfortunately, I'm going to need to rely on someone that's going to be on time. So.
Yes.
I don't lie. I think it's important to let people know. It will help them, especially if there's different cultures involved.
Yes. You just put yourself in their shoes. Basically, just say, okay, if I had an interview scheduled and I really wanted this job, I would move heaven and earth just to be there. If I broke my leg, I'll be on my phone on Zoom call. Hi, I broke my leg. I'm in hospital, but I'm here because I want this. Right.
Absolutely.
So if you want somebody's really, do you want them in your team?
Definitely not. Red flags.
Not really.
Look out for them, guys. Yeah. Look out for them. Richard said, I would like to catch up on YouTube or download later if possible. Yeah, as soon as we're finished, it should upload to YouTube, Richard, so you can watch it back at a later stage. Please make sure you give us a thumbs up when you do, of course. Stephen said, in my old workplace, part of the interview process is to have an applicant jump on a one-to-one call with the current team to see if they would get on and not break the current team. I think that's a really great idea, especially if we've already got team members as well. I know it's something that I'm in a sourcing pool with some other people. We have regular team meetings, and that works really, really well. So it is important, especially if at any point you think one of your team members might end up running the team. It's important that everyone gets on within the team for sure. I just want to go through one more question. Then I want to jump to Anna she spent so much time delivering so much value here. And I'm sure some of you are going to want to know how to get in contact with Anna and what type of service that she offers, because you do offer a service with a difference, like I said, to some of the other services that might be out there, which of course I always recommend everyone take the time to find out the service that's right for them.
Exactly.
If you are going to use the service. And I know Anna in particular, and one of the other main service providers will always say that. Have a chat, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. So Stefan in the event earlier asked the question, was a 3-part question actually. So are you ready, Anna? Right, I think we've actually answered most of these, so we'll just go through and clarify that. Stefan's asked how a test should look like for them, or how a test should look for them, and how much experience would a VA would you look for to earn per month, so we can identify the ones that are claiming to be experienced. So the question is, would you pay more for an experienced VA? I don't think, personally, I don't think I would, or one that claims to be experienced. I think I would just say that's the wage, that's what we're prepared to pay. However, we will be able to arrange some bonuses based on performance after the successful trial period. That's how I would deal with it.
Yeah, that's a really good way, because if I was to hire somebody I need to train, and somebody who is Natalie, I would say, okay, if you can deliver me like 2 to 5 deals per day, you can spend 5 minutes on it or 8 hours on it. I'll pay you the same. Or if you want to deliver more, I'll have to pay you the more. because I think foundation person who doesn't have experience is going to be much slower in finding deals than somebody who has ton of experience like you do, and logical thinking and methods and strategies and knowledge and, of everything. So you might be able to find something great in 5 minutes, like you have done in your, sourcing sessions, which is like astounding. Nobody can do that who just started.
That is an amazing answer. And I hope everyone appreciate how good an answer that is, actually. Much better than mine. Because if you think about it, it is a time versus money. Necessarily, it may well be you set them a target. Okay, find me 10 deals. And if you can get me 10 excellent deals done quicker, I'm still going to pay you exactly the same as I will versus hours. So therefore, they can actually work out technically that their hourly rate would be worth more because they get the job done quicker. However, it has to be good quality. You don't want 10 rubbish deals. No. So that's a phenomenal way to look at it. Really good answer. Thanks for clarifying that, Anna. Sort of related, but I think we've kind of answered this one anyway, which was, would you spend time to train someone that already has Amazon experience? So again, I know some people out there will prefer to take someone on with no Amazon experience, so they have no bad habits, because just because they've got Amazon experience, it doesn't mean it's good experience. They could have been poorly trained. That's something that's important to remember. Knowing what I know about you, I would say that you're probably going to deliver the same level of training, regardless whether they claim they have experience or not.
So yes, even somebody, we had a situation, somebody said, I'm inexperienced, actually was recommended by one of the Amazon sellers, said, I do not need this VA. They did the reviewing, do you want to train them in sourcing? I said, okay, let's send her in, let's talk to her, see what she says. Same training, because first of all, training has to be provided to your KPIs. So if you're an Amazon seller, you will have your own KPIs and the way you see business, the way you want your products to be sourced. So even the person with experience has to learn your KPIs and the way you think about your business. Where do you want your business to go? So they do need training again to understand you and your methods. So yeah, training is inevitable, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything on Amazon.
Can't get away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, one final question, then I think we'll wrap up. So if anyone does have any more questions, please pop them in the comments. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Great question from Stefan as well. Thank you, by the way, Stefan. Really good questions here. Philippines versus Eastern Europe. So this is, for anyone that doesn't know, this is the main difference. Well, one of the main differences. I think there's quite a few differences between your services and some of the others out there. As in, you do not recruit from some of the traditional places where some other services recruit from. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I have realized by having VAs from many parts of the planet Earth, that some understand me better than others, and some I understand vice versa better than others. As soon as I speak to them, I can picture where they come from, where did they go to school, who do they live with, what are their circumstances, what are their finances, what do they need to live. So I already know that because I'm from the region. So it's for me invaluable to hire people to train our VAs from Europe, because I know exactly what they need, and make sure that they get what they need so they can be happy working for a client. And when they're happy working for a client, they want to deliver the best. They really care. And I mean really care. They ask lots of questions because they care. And they really take on informations and teachings fast because, again, they care and they are well educated and they're intelligent. So it actually really matters where do you hire people from, because of that understanding that you may have. And also when they're from the same culture, you understand the culture. So European culture is that you like education, you take your job seriously, and you like to be, accredited accordingly. You like feedback. So you understand these things. It's just communication. It's so much easier when you understand each other better. If it's somebody from a foreign region, you have to learn what their culture is like so that you can be a really good boss to them or team member. And that is a learning curve. Again, you have to think, do you have time, and how good you are in learning other people's cultures and understanding. It's not just about Filipinos would like to be paid on a 13th month, right? Like extra wage at the end of the year. It's not just about it. There's many different things that need to be understood about them as well. Not just people for Philippines, but like everywhere else. So that's why I just like to stick with what I know. That's the big difference. And also I love that when my team, I need to contact them, it's only 1 hour difference. So I can contact them during the work hours. They immediately respond. And also I like that the internet is stable. There are almost no storms, from where they are than it is here in Britain. So we have had a couple of hours, right? So as soon as there's a heat wave, everything stops. Or as soon as there's a snow, everything stops.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
we're used to that. We know it's going to happen the same over there. So it's just that flow of business communication. I like that. I think that's a really big difference. To me, it makes a difference. To some people, maybe not.
And that's the thing. Different strokes for different folks. It's my favorite saying. And Anna has particularly found an area to recruit from in the world that resonates with you, and that also resonates for some people in the UK as well. And it's not saying that recruiting from a different area or region in the world is wrong. You've just found that works for you, more because of the reasons that you've said. So, if it is something, and again, we're not going to say one's good, we're not going to say one's bad. Connect with Anna, have a chat with her, and see if that works with you, because that's the important thing about this business, really. If you are going to go down that route, but necessarily, you might want to go ahead and try and recruit yourself. Again, you've got to work what works for you and what hasn't. And you've particularly found something that works for you, and that's what you wanted to share, because you did have some bad experiences, but it wasn't necessarily due to where they were from in the world or anything like that. You said this didn't work for you, and you found an alternative. It's as simple as that.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. Now, I know people that have used Anna's service, so absolutely, I completely recommend having a chat with Anna if you feel that it's something that you want to consider doing, because not everyone has the time. I think we've given loads of information here that if somebody does want to go ahead and recruit a VA themselves, or a team member, sorry, I fell in my own trap there.
It's all right.
Yeah, hopefully it will give you a little bit more confidence to be able to do that. I know Anna's wonderful in the communities as well. So if you've got any questions, hopefully you don't mind the odd tag with
of course not, yes,
or something.
Feel free.
Like that. Yeah, I know Anna's very generous with her time, but don't take advantage of it, guys. That's what I always say.
Thank you
definitely,
so much.
for sure. Don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So, Anna, where can people get in contact with you if they want to find out a little bit more? We're not going to go into a sales pitch or anything here, but if they want to connect to you, if they want to find out a little bit more about the recruitment services you offer for team members, where's the best place to get in contact?
So you can either go to our website, sourcingva.com, or you can just connect with me on a Facebook, or add me as a friend and send me a message on a messenger. Just make sure you send me a message on a messenger so I know that you're connecting for this purpose. Because, you get odd, connect request, and you do not know why this person has contacted you. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out. So a message, it's actually quite welcome. So you can use either ways.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your experience, and thank you for those golden nuggets that you absolutely dropped in. I'm sure that everyone agree that Anna's been absolutely invaluable today. So if you are going to go ahead and do this yourself, then hopefully you feel a little bit more confident in doing so. As always, Anna, we'd love to have you back at a later stage. Always great fun catching up with you, finding about what's going on and everything. And I hope you guys have enjoyed today's session. So
I
if
certainly
you
have.
yeah, absolutely. I have as well. Jamie says, amazing session. Thank you both. Bint says, thank you, ladies. Marion had already said earlier on, had to disconnect because they were having internet issues, but thank you for the session. It was very informative. Well, thank you for joining, everyone. Now, if you are watching via YouTube, here comes my embarrassment of being, you know, a rubbish YouTuber and saying all this stuff. So if you're watching via YouTube, please, please, please give us a thumbs up. And if you can make a comment in the video after you've left, as opposed to on the chat, just saying that if you've enjoyed it. And then what we'll also do in the description as well, we will also put the information on how you can contact Anna. So if you're watching this in 2 weeks and I haven't done it, then make sure you pop a comment in to say that I haven't put the contact details in there. So, but obviously Anna's available on Facebook if you need to. Thanks, Tina. Popped in because I think people can book a call with you, can't they?
Yes, they can go on a website, book a call, choose their time and date to chat with us for a free consultation with us. That's an option as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Rosie says, fabulous. Thank you so much, girlies. This was an extremely informative session. Well, we appreciate everybody. Fun. Yeah, definitely. It was fun. We appreciate everyone's time. Go off and enjoy the rest of the heat wave, everyone. I'm gonna literally, I don't know, my kids have stopped screaming now. I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe the sun's got them. Who knows? I'm not sure.
The ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Something's happened. There's no screaming. I can't hear anything. So enjoy the rest of the thank you. Oh, subscribe as well. Thank you. I told you I'm like literally the worst YouTube person ever. And make sure you like and subscribe and set the notifications so when we go live or when we have videos. And I tell you what, guys, we've got a corker of a video coming soon about the high fat, sugar and salt updates. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week on Never Mind the Buy Box. So make sure you join us for that. I know it's going to be a massive headache for everyone, but you know, I'm pretty certain that we've put something together that's going to make it a lot easier. And people are worried about account, listings being removed, things like that. So fingers crossed, we've got a solution for you guys. So make sure you tune in next week, but we'll post it in the group. Anna, thank you so much for your time. You've been so generous with it. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for all the information. It is genuinely always a pleasure talking to you. And I hope you'll come back and see us again soon.
I'd love to. Thank you so much. Natalie, you've been amazing as always.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I had to laugh. Sorry, I had to laugh. I didn't say it at that moment. It's because Stephen said, go and say it. Smash that bell for a note. I can't do it. Right, I'm going before I embarrass myself even more. Thanks, Anna. Take care. Lovely to see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.